3 people have been murdered in Kaufman County, Texas.
It's kind of like the Wild West out there.
The district attorney, Mike McClelland, his wife, Cynthia, and the assistant DA, Mark Hassey.
Only prosecutors and their families are being targeted and murdered.
And now authorities believe they know who pulled the trigger. And it's the most unlikely of suspects. His name is Eric Williams, and it wasn't just his friendly baby face that made him a surprising person of interest. The married 46-year-old was a former National Guardsman and one-time member of the Kaufman County Chamber of Commerce. And that's not all.
He was the justice of the peace in town.
That's right. The man cops suspect just murdered 3 people was also a Kaufman County judge and a rising star in the legal community.
He had gone from being the main CPS attorney in Kaufman to winning the JP's position. And he came with power. He had a bright future.
Had being the operative word. But that all changes when courthouse surveillance video surfaces starring the high-ranking and highly respected Justice of the Peace.
On the surveillance video, Eric was seen walking out of the IT department carrying Dell computer monitors. He removed 3 of them on a Sunday afternoon when the building was closed.
Were there charges that were filed against him?
He was arrested on theft charges.
Felony theft charges.
Who prosecuted this case?
Mark Hassey prosecuted this case, and Mike McClelland was second chair.
Eric Williams pleads not guilty. He's offered a plea deal reducing the charges from a felony to a misdemeanor.
He refused it. He thought he could talk his way through it.
Just listen to him try during this police interrogation.
I don't think that you actually believe, I mean, you're an educated person. I see your class ring on your finger. That you can just walk into a ID department and say, I need a monitor, I'm taking that one. I mean, there's places that do that. Places being here in Kaufman County, or? Well, I mean, there's businesses that, yeah.
I think he felt justified because, you know, he was trying to put that video surveillance system in at the courthouse to be able to use to do magistrations. And he was taking the monitors for that, or that was his defense.
A defense the jury doesn't buy. Eric is found guilty and gets 2 years probation. But since Eric has been convicted of a felony, he automatically loses his Justice of the Peace position and law license.
Over $600 worth of computer equipment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In essence, he loses everything, and detectives believe that is his motive for the murders.
I think it was just revenge. It was that simple. He wanted to take the lives of the 2 prosecutors that had prosecuted him. I believe in his mind, he wanted to take the lives of the people that had taken his life.
He had decided that he was entitled to this revenge, and everybody else was just collateral damage.
But not everyone is convinced of Eric's guilt.
I thought he was a thoughtful, considerate, kind, caring person.
Attorney Jenny Parks worked with Eric over the years and thought highly of the Justice of the Peace.
Did you feel like you were the lone voice in support of Eric Williams diffusing these rumors?
No, there were several people that thought Eric was innocent. I wasn't the only one in this county. There were several attorneys that didn't want to believe it.
But there were plenty of people who believed Eric was capable of murder.
That animosity that built up during the trial. The theft case had been so personal in that kind of incubator of that little courthouse in that little town that there so much hate had built up.
But there's just one problem concerning Eric as the prime suspect. There's not a stitch of evidence tying him to the triple murder investigation. And Eric is refusing to talk to investigators.
We were trying to get an interview with him. However, his lawyers at the time prevented that.
Then detectives catch a break.
We have evidence from video cameras in the neighborhood that showed that white Crown Victoria, a typical police car, going into the neighborhood right before the murders and leaving the neighborhood right after the murders.
It's the same car neighbors reported seeing on the morning the McClellans were gunned down. And even though the video is too grainy to make out the driver or passengers inside the vehicle,
We knew then and there we had our man and had the right person.
But there's no record of Eric owning this type of vehicle. And you'll remember the getaway car used in Mark Hassey's murder was described as a brown or silver sedan. But those seemingly contradicting facts don't dissuade investigators.
They thought that he had things stashed somewhere, but they just didn't know where it was.
Then, in a strange turn of events, detectives actually received word from Eric.
12 days after the murders, he fired his lawyers, and he actually wanted to talk with us in the investigation.
Right away, 2 Texas Rangers head out to Eric's home. They make an audio recording of the conversation.
And you understand why your name pops up in all this?
Absolutely.
Well, did you have anything to do with it?
No, absolutely not.
Then they ask Eric how many guns he has in his home.
You don't have any more? You got rid of
I have
all of them?
one gun I'm trying to sell, and it's just hard as hell to sell.
Hey, just curious, how many guns did you used to own?
About 16.
And you sold 15 of them?
As a convicted felon, he's no longer allowed to own guns.
I'd love to go back and say, there's no guns in that house. We looked in that house.
I guess we could just look in there real quick.
They didn't have probable cause for a search warrant, so they needed Eric to say, okay, you can come in, you can search my house. And he did that day. He let them in.
But you don't mind us going down there and looking? Okay.
I'll take all of it.
And once inside, cops can't believe what they find.
Eric Williams' Little House of Horrors.
Coming up,
That was the first big break.
it's a tour of terror,
That is when the case started to unravel.
complete with a madman's to-do list.
People that everyone assumed were friends with Eric Williams, we came to find out were actually intended targets on his hit list.
First, I want to say that my deepest condolences go out to the McClellan family and all the people at the courthouse.